So yes, I'm Greg. I'm interviewing David about his book Dance Prone, which I just read. Thought it was great. So it's a chance for us to have a catch up as well. I'm a musician, a drummer, honorary musician, and I've known Dave for probably 20 years on and off, but I haven't been living in Wellington for a long time, so it's a chance to catch up.
Yeah. My name's David, and I am a writer and kind of a former musician, kind of. And I wrote Dance Prone, and we're going to have a yarn about it.
So I think, I can't remember when it was, but you were visiting in Dunedin, and I'd read The Invisible Mile, and I really liked that.
Yeah.
And I asked the obvious question, what are you doing next? And you talked about, you had some ideas about a book about set in that American hardcore scene that obviously we were both fed from. And it was kind of like, what made you sort of go to that place? Or what, because it wasn't the only idea, and you weren't sure if it was going to be in America or the UK or,
Right.
It was obviously just at that early sort of stage. I don't know how much research you'd done, but...
So, no, what happened was in 2015, I was kind of looking for ideas for new books. And I had written some stuff for new material for certain projects, but I hadn't really settled on anything. And I was at work and I was bumming around, and I came across a review by Robert Christgau of 3 books that dealt with Husker Du. And, Husker Du were like one of my favourite bands when I was they still are.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. I got to see Grant Hart 5 years ago before he died.
Yeah.
So it's sort of just almost one of the greatest nights in the last 5 years. Really. It's really cool.
Yeah, same. I got to see this. I saw the same tour. It was freaking amazing.
Yeah,
I wanted to go and talk to him, but it's just like, I can't.
Yeah. It was in port, so it was possible to actually talk to him because it was small enough. Yeah.
Did you talk to him?
Yeah, it was cool.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, bought a record off him.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, but this is Robert Christgau thing. Oh, in fact, I guess it was more about Bob Mould. It was about a book about Husker Du. It was Bob Mould's autobiography and another one. Name slipped out of my head at the moment. Anyway, Robert Christgau was kind of lamenting the fact that none of the writers, including Bob Mould himself, were able to capture what it was like to see Husker Du live.
Yeah, right.
And I was feeling a little bit confident at the time because the Invisible Mile had just come out and was doing really well. And I was like, I'll do it.
It's a good challenge.
Yeah, I'll do it. And so I tried. Yeah. 4.5 years later, it took me forever to write it. And it was so hard to write.
Yeah,
but it was, it was a trigger from stuff that from my past, drawing me to now. And also another thing was, I kind of wanted to write a book with a subject matter my friends would be interested in reading, because with The Invisible Mile, it was quite funny. I wrote this book, and all my friends were like, it's about cycling.
It's about sports.
It's about sports. What's David? And there's a funny story about that. But it was kind of this. It really triggered this thing that I wanted to write about something my friends would pick up and go, oh yeah, I'd want to read that.
Yeah. Well, it's the hardest thing I think is to try and write from inside what it feels like to be on a stage. I do think you have managed to. I know it's really different from behind a drum kit.
Yeah.
But I do. It's kind of funny when I was reading those parts where you're talking about particular character being on the top of a set of amps and the riff being not there, but everyone knowing it's coming and all that sort of sense, and the explosion. It was kind of like, I did get a sense of this is what it's like for Dave or this is what it was like for Dave in that moment, potentially, which is, and I guess it's going to be different for everyone. Was there a, because before, when I got to Wellington, that whole fast, hard, dirty scene had gone, but were you in that kind of, were you playing that kind of music here?
So...
Because that's back in the Paddy and Frank days and
well,
stuff,
I played with Paddy.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
I played with Paddy Moran.
Yeah.
He was the drummer. We met in 1989.
Oh, okay.
He was a complete bogan, and it was really funny. And we kind of learned to play music together.
Okay.
The two of us. Like, I couldn't play the guitar and he couldn't play the drums, but we kind of learned to play live.
Right,
if you know what I mean. Yeah. We were absolutely appalling for the first few years.
Oh, hopefully.
Yeah, you expect so, eh? But then we had a band called Clay who were okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was sort of 92 to 95, I think.
Right.
And we toured quite a bit.
Cool.
Country and stuff.
Because I remember coming to Wellington because I was in Spheric Experiment with Joffa there.
Yeah.
And I remember coming to Wellington and there was a practice room down in the railway yards down.
Yeah.
Which was, so that was that same time. I mean, that's when I met Paddy.
Yeah.
And Frank, and so when they later moved to Dunedin, I ended up playing with them.
Of course.
Down there, but, they moved off. It was like a great thing to be the drummer in a band with two drummers who weren't playing the drums anymore.
Yeah.
But still had that sense of rhythm. That was my ideal. It was like, this is what I want in a band.
Yeah.
I want to be the drummer in a band of drummers, but they all have to play keyboards and sing.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Because I came down to Dunedin and played with them. Do you remember a Pixies night?
No.
Oh, damn. Because, I played with them.
I was trying to think what the bands would have been. What was it? Was it Truck Stop or something? What was?
Well, Truck Stop was their band in Wellington.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But Clay, it was a sort of a version of Clay, what you did?
In Dunedin?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was a Pixies covers band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, so I was just wondering if you were there at that gig in Dunedin.
I don't remember it.
Because it was kind of like a who's of Dunedin musicians were there. It was a really fun night. But I was in Clay with Paddy and Charles, and then we had a couple of disastrous gigs, and we were kind of tired of not getting anywhere, so we broke up. And then that was.
Well, so that was that kind of fast.
I'd call it hard. I'd call it post-hardcore.
Yeah, right.
Paddy, we were kind of had slow and fast.
Sure.
I never played hardcore. Hardcore was done by the time I started playing.
Yeah.
Even though I loved it.
Yeah.
Still do.
Yeah.
Playing it would have been wrong.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out why bands would play it.
Yeah. Well, it was nice because there was always, we all had, when we wanted to play slow, we could just refer back to Flipper.
Yeah.
And that was fine.
Yeah, that's right.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Because that was, that was their genius, really. It was as heavy as any good hardcore band, but it was slow.
Yeah, which was amazing.
Cool, yeah. In a strange way, there are kind of echoes of Dance Prone in it, and that's about endurance, and it's about abuse of substances, and it's about sort of the psychological sort of breakdown that happens around that sort of stuff, around exhaustion, but it's quite a different book. It feels like it's less complicated than Dance Prone. Did it feel like that when you wrote it? Or?
Yeah,
right.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. The Invisible Mile in some ways was incredibly easy to write because, it started in Paris and finished in Paris. Well, theoretically it didn't quite work out for the writer, but...
Yeah.
And when I sat down to write it, it just flowed. The cycling stuff, I used to ride a bike when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing about endurance cycling or anything. I just sat down to write it, and it just flowed.
Wow.
It was amazing. It was so easy to write.
Yeah.
And it just had this voice, and I was like, I had no idea what this was going to be like. For me, and the reason why I wrote it was about memory.
Yeah, right.
And it was a book about the memorization of World War One. That was what was on my mind, and that's what I was writing towards. Of course, everyone has different aspects. And memory and trauma and this kind of thing. And now that I've finished Dance Prone, and now that it's settled in my mind, I very much think of Dance Prone as being just part two of The Invisible Mile, because it's about memory, it's about trauma, it's about they've all these things in common. Memory. No, I mean, only way I knew about music when I was a kid was through having these conversations about music with people. I mean, without the internet, and I didn't really read music magazines. I just couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
It was really just having these conversations with people. That's how I heard names of bands. That's how I stored up knowledge about stuff. And it was a very long, slow process. I'm still hearing things now that I'm surprised I never heard 30 years ago, 30-something years ago.
So you weren't one of those guys. I mean, I was lucky enough to have a flatmate. I remember in a period who loved SS2, and it was like anything that was coming out on that. So there'd be the
No, I was never one of those guys.
There'd be the Minutemen, then the Meat Puppets, and then there might be a Butthole Surfers record, and then so every week there'd be a new album that we would all get really excited about. Because they were following, and it was about some of those little labels, finding a way into that music.
Well, that's how I'd. It was friends. Come around, we'd sit around, drink, and talk about music. And they say, "Okay, this album's coming out soon. We've got to listen to this." Or that somebody or a mate would turn up with a record and put it on and say, "Did you know about this? This is And that's how we found out about it.
So it was amazing. What specifically? What records would have been?
Well, I remember
key.
Yeah. Okay. So I remember a few things that happened. Like, this is spread out over, say, 4 years. My eldest sister, who was 11 years older than me, she had records. Most of them were kind of crappy 70s, Pink Floyd and shit like that. Yeah. But she also had a record by this band called the Velvet Underground. Ta-da! The cliched thing, And I mean, that's a strange looking cover.
Yeah.
And it was like this compilation of VU stuff. It was really weird. Anyway, I put that on and went, oh, that's interesting.
Right.
That's that was sort of mind changing. But I was still slow to sort of move towards punk rock.
Right.
I don't know why. I don't have a good reason for it.
There wasn't a lot around.
There wasn't a lot around, and I thought they looked a bit silly. So I never really listened to the music.
Yeah.
But there was this Velvet Underground business, which was just blowing my mind. And I was listening to a lot of Neil Young and Bob Dylan. That's probably what I listened to up until
Would she have had Patti Smith?
No,
and
then I had another sister who had Patti Smith.
Right.
And I remember her and her boyfriend had a lot of records, and they were sort of like going through stuff slowly. And then they went to university in Christchurch. He was a couple of years older than me, and I was 15, and I went down there, and they had Patti Smith, and they played that to me. And I was like, they should tie it into this. Tonally tied into this VU stuff. Yeah. And so that was cool. And then the next year I went down there and they had Zen Arcade by Husker Du, which is, there's Zen Arcade and there's New Day Rising. Right. They're my two Husker Du albums that I just love. Okay. And
Land Speed Record.
Oh, and Land Speed Record. God, yeah, of course. And Metal Circus. Circus.
But sorry, I shouldn't.
Land Speed Record, which is the greatest album name for a hardcore band in the history of hardcore. And so that was like, oh my God, okay. And suddenly I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe there is something about this punk rock thing that I need to get into.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So and then that was when I started going out and seeing bands.
Right.
And then I remember one specific day, I think it was my birthday, and I think I was turning 18. A Sonic Youth record turned up at our house.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Evil.
Oh, yeah.
And when we're talking about timbre, right?
Oh, yeah.
That the first time you hear it, that first initial thing, and you know something suddenly, because you're hearing something. The first notes of Sonic Youth's Evil is the song Tom Violence.
Oh, yeah.
And the instant I heard the first chord, my life changed completely. Wow. Everything else was gone.
Right.
That had a whiff of happiness about it.
Did that record come from your Christchurch sister?
Yes.
Oh, right. Oh,
yes,
cool.
Yes.
Handy.
Yeah. And I think from her boyfriend, actually.
Yeah.
But Sonic Youth just changed my world. I was like, this is how music should sound. This is what it should be.
Right.
Forget normal harmonic systems. You don't need them.
Yeah.
You can make songs out of any tonal arrangement you like.
Yeah.
And I still remember that moment. Just blew my mind. But then I was just surrounded by all these great New Zealand bands, some of whom you were in, I'm not sure if I ever saw you when you were in the Verlaines.
Played Wellington a couple of times.
When were you in them?
I was trying to think, it's probably about 91 or something or other.
Okay. Yeah.
But I was only in that band for 2 years. But it was the one thing it did do was it gave me that experience that's in Dance Prone, which is that travelling, playing. I think this guy Bob Lawton had organised this tour, and we played 24 shows in 27 days or something insane.
Sure.
And he was renowned for basically making people drive 10 hours to play to 15 people just so that you could pay for the gas. And it was like you'd drive, we'd drive past somewhere like Philadelphia like twice before we even played there. It was like, why don't we just stay here? We were so exhausted. And it was about that. I mean, the endurance thing. I mean, I got Giardia and I was vegan. So there was nothing to eat. There was a Wendy's salad bar was a great discovery. It was like, wow, I can eat something. But I lost a stone. By the time we got to San Francisco, near the end, I was just like, that was the end of me really with the band. I just went, I can't. I mean, the internal politics in the band just kill us. But you just sort of realise how hard it is. And you are putting on that really dirty shirt each day.
It's disgusting.
And you're eating the worst food, and you never quite get a decent sleep anywhere.
No,
and
never. You just shattered.
You become really blunt, and then you've got to somehow turn it on. And you do. Yeah. As soon as the gig starts, something somehow it's there, but the rest of the day you're just like
zombies.
Wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad I didn't have to have that life.
So there's a lot of America in there. How did you do that? Did you spend time over there? Like it feels like the size of the building, and the street, and is that like Google Maps, or how did you do your research?
I did spend 2 months driving around the States in 2005.
Oh, okay.
But
because it does feel like kind of the sense of what New Mexico looks like, or what.
Yeah, no, well, that's just being a writer.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
which is different from being a musician.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to have these chops about you. You need to be able to create these things.
Yeah.
But no,